everybody. Welcome to Talkin' Torque. My name is Colin Livingston. Another Thursday here. Man, had such a good time last week with my off-camber Carter's buddies. Thanks again to Steve, um, Matt, and Hollywood for showing up. It was a lot of fun. Definitely want to do that again and try and get more of our racers from way outside of our CRG family on board, to offer different perspectives and try and get more of the friendly rivalry that we have. We've got such a great group, and in fact, our off-camber Carters group of DD2, when we have over 30 registered drivers, we usually get between 24 and 28 drivers on any given night, making us the largest DD2 group in the entire world. So it's a lot of fun. We've got 5 or 6 of our drivers are past competitors at the Rotax Grand Finals. Just really, really unbelievable amounts of talent. A lot of fun, great racing. Unfortunately or fortunately, I missed last night's race, involved in a golf tournament, which mostly rendered me unable to operate a go-kart. I was hoping to be a little bit more intoxicated than what I ended up, but it was a fairly well-behaved day that we were able to drive home at the end of the night. But any amount of alcohol renders me unable to get into a racing vehicle of any kind. And even on my worst day, I would never even think about getting into a go-kart or any kind of race vehicle within 24 hours of having a drop. But lots of fun. Was I couldn't not watch it. I had race monitor up as I was at home watching what was going on, and having to text a lot of the people at the track to try and interpret what was happening. See, somebody would pass 2 people in a lap and ask if they were clean passes, and they weren't always clean. Hard to watch, especially after last weekend. And I really kind of hate to do this, but at the same time, I kind of have to do it. Pat myself a little bit on the back. Last Friday was our summer challenge event, and for me, it was probably one of the very best racing events that I've ever been part of. Not only was it a great event, but I just managed to hit a groove and performed at a really decent level. And before I get too far, anyone that's watching, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell your friends. But if you're watching on Twitter or outside of YouTube, try and jump on the YouTube feed, which is just at youtube.com/cantork. That's where we can actually interact. We can get comments. You can send questions, and once I bring on my guest today, Meg Polson, the owner now of Glacier Greens Golf Course. She's got a fascinating career, a really cool life trajectory. And I know there'll be a lot of people who will remember Meg from her days on TSN Radio, her career as a TV person within the CFRN group and some of the local things, her own TV show, and she'll be jumping on here in a few minutes. But our old friend Mike is asking, your karting is available online? I don't know what that means, Mike. You can't watch online. There's no video feed from our local events. I mean, fortunately, we're only 45 minutes out of town in Warburg. The timing and scoring is available if you subscribe to the online services, My Laps or Race Monitor or any of those. And you can just see the lap by lap scoring. that's about all you've got. But getting back to last weekend, it was EDKRA's Edmonton and District Kart Racing Association, our local racetrack. Our biggest event of the year is called the Summer Challenge. It's where we get outside sponsorship, trophies, which are not we usually get awarded one trophy at the end of the year if you end up in the top three. um Cash prizes, lots of fun. There was a band on Friday night, fireworks. It kind of ties our whole club together. I don't want to say that we're segregated, but our group runs on Wednesdays and the main club runs on the weekends, and this is where we actually get to be at the track at the same time, even when the weekend folks aren't, they didn't do any racing on Friday, but they come out. Generally a lot of people camp at the track, and it's a great way for us to intermingle. But like I said, I just had an unbelievably good Friday. Won the pole, which the top three from qualifying in each category moved into what was called the Super Pole Award, and thanks to Apollo Motorsports for putting up prize money there. We had to go back out. The top three went out for a 2-lap shootout, and I put up my two fastest laps of the year, and by crazy amounts. I went 4 tenths quicker in the original qualifying, and I went 6 tenths quicker from my previous fastest lap in the Super Bowl. That ended up winning me $500. Then during the race, I was just running really, really well. I didn't do anything special to my cart aside from having new tires on it, but managed to you know. Without, again, I don't want to say this from an arrogant standpoint. This would be a lot easier if I had some of my other racing people there that could verify what I'm saying, but wasn't challenged at all. Ended up winning the race, which came with a $750 first prize. Ended up with some really, really cool trophies. So we've got the Super Bowl trophy, we've got the first place trophy, and was really happy to be able to share that with my good friend Troy Shelamy, Greg Zazzara. Greg's the one on the left with the beard, Troy's on the right. I've raced with Troy for 15 years. We are always within a few places of each other, and couldn't be a greater guy. But just had an awesome day. It was finally nice to put some of the early struggles that I've had behind me, and actually be able to execute. Of course, I have to thank Tim Ganida, good friend. He was wrenching on my cart. All of my team, John Taskin and Matthew Taskinen, everyone over at Fusion Motorsports, Trevor Polson, no relation to Meg that's coming on, Eileen Torper, Devin Gellings, just great people to be around, great people to have under the fold. And, everyone helps everyone. Fusion was awesome. They sponsored the champagne for all the podiums, which ended up, this really, really cool bottle that's back at my house right now. But other than that, did you guys catch the race at Mid Ohio, the IndyCar race? Didn't get a lot of time to talk about IndyCar or F1 last week because we tried to focus more on the karting side of things. But I thought that was just a crazy good race. Felt like terrible for Colton Herta and Graham Rahal, especially for Graham Rahal. They've had such a tough season, just not qualifying to make the Indy 500 for Graham, having to sub for Stefan Wilson. Finally they get the thing going, was running in the top three, was running second, managed to take the lead on pit stops, and then had an issue on pit road that relegate him back to a top 10 finish. But really, really cool to see that they were able to start getting that team turned around. actually want to try and connect with some of these guys. We're going to be in Toronto here in 2 weeks, and trying to line up some interviews, trying to line up some contact with the IndyCar folks. Of course, we will definitely be getting a lot of coverage with the NASCAR Pinty series. Have a little bit of access to those folks, and looking forward to bringing a lot of that to you guys here. That's not this weekend, but next weekend. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. If anyone has questions, we don't know who we're going to get lined up with yet. A few irons in the fire, but we're going to have a great time. We should have Dean will be out, Mr. Blundell, a couple videographers, some of our other sports broadcasters, and we're going to try and turn it into a fairly fun weekend. This weekend, IndyCar off, but F1 moves to Silverstone. Obviously, that's going to be a big deal. So many British drivers, actually a track where they like racing at. There's opportunities to pass, which you can't always say. And we shouldn't have to hear about fucking track limits, at least not to the same extent that we did last weekend in Austria. That was just such a disaster. The F1 needs to regroup and start figuring out a means for enforcing track limits without these crazy penalties. Tag a time penalty on. If somebody goes wide, it's a marginal advantage of hundredths, maybe only thousandths of a second. Start adding time penalties of a tenth of a second, 2/10 of a second for each transgression. This idea of deleting laps and then arbitrarily adding a 5-second, 10-second penalty after the fact when you have no means to try and combat that is really unfair. But instead of listening to me run my mouth, I see Meg's jumped on here. Bring her in here. Wait till she. Oh, there we go. There's eye contact, so I don't have to catch her on her phone. How are you doing, Meg?
I'm good. There was a reason why I was on my phone. I was making sure that my handle was indeed at Glacier Greens because I was getting confused. But on Instagram, I think it's at Glacier Greens Golf. So I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Well, you're new to golf course ownership, so I can understand the confusion. But hopefully, people just know Glacier Greens Golf, located just north of Stony Plain. You are now the new, I'm assuming, proud owner.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was Duffy's Challenge before.
Yeah.
Never in my life did I think that I would say I was a golf course owner, and had a bit of the biggest impulse buy ever last June, and thought, hey, this property's up for sale, 43 acres, pretty good price. Let's do it.
Well, and that's you and I have been friends for a long time. I go back to knowing your dad when I was, like 4 or 5 years old, when I would go to the golf course with my father. But you and I have crossed paths through radio, and it took me a long time to actually make the connection to the little girl that worked in the Stony Plain Pro Shop named Megan, until I actually figured it out and I had an aha moment. Well, I don't know if it was an aha moment or if you just kind of beat me over the head with a baseball bat to finally clue it in. But we've known each other a long time. I don't believe that was such an impulse purchase, because I know that you did a lot of calculating and you guys put a lot of time into figuring things out. You guys being you and your husband, Courtney. And correct me if I'm wrong, the golf course wasn't even really what you were looking to buy. You had another idea in mind.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So it all started, if I go way back on it, my husband wanted to build a shop on our property. And I said, it turns out I've kind of always been an entrepreneur. So I said, okay, find a way to make money, find a way to pay it off, and you could build a shop. Then we got into talking more about it, and we thought, hey, what if we hosted weddings? And we built this beautiful barn, and we could have weddings at it as well. Okay, let's look into that. So we went through all of those pieces, and we have a nice piece of property where we're at. Our neighbors shut that down hard. But we had it in our head that, hey, we still want to do this wedding venue. We want to make it a high-end wedding venue, beautiful barn themed, where we've been tearing down old barns that were built in the 1980s over the past 3 or 4 years. So we have 7 barns worth of barnwood that we're ready to build this thing with. So then we start looking for new property. So we're looking at a few different options here. And there was a couple times that we almost pulled the trigger on them. And then we almost pulled it on one of them and we saw, well, wait, if we spend about 100 grand more, we get a golf course out of it. So we could do the wedding venue and the golf course. And obviously, golf has always been in my background, so it wasn't a huge stretch for me to buy one. But yeah, it was just kind of, it was like fate set in. And then you realize, like, maybe I was always destined to be a golf course owner because, like you say, I started working in the Stony Plain Golf Course Pro Shop when I was 12. So golf's always been in my background and I know how to handle it.
Well, and that's interesting because and you and I actually haven't had this conversation yet, but I'm like desperately curious to know, as much time as you've spent, you've worked in the pro shop, you've you've had a golf show, you've organized golf trips. We'll talk about that in a bit. You know, you've been around golf your entire life. I'm guessing it didn't even come close to preparing you for what you jumped into.
No, it turns out owning a golf course is actually a lot of work. But also, it's probably the coolest thing that I've ever done. And I've had so many cool jobs that I can't even count them or list them all. And I'm so thankful for all of the experiences that I've had. However, it's like in every job that I've ever had, golf always pulled me back. Even, I was doing sales for a radio station at one point, and they're like, "Oh, Meg, you golf? Okay, come and take these clients out golfing. We'll make a whole promotion around it." Like, golf has always been a focus, even though I didn't know it was the central focus. So it's funny. Had you asked me, coming out of high school, like, I would be like, "Yeah, I really like golf. It's what I like to do." I didn't think I would be here. I didn't think I would have hosted a TV show about golf. I didn't think it would be such a primary focus in my life. I even wonder how many times in my life I've said the word golf. It's probably sickening.
Yeah, I'm probably, I'm honestly, I'm moving far away from golf from where I was a bunch of years ago. I still love it, but racing is obviously kind of moved in. I, still belong to a really nice, well, now I belong to two nice golf courses because I've been given a membership at Glacier Greens,
Yeah.
oddly enough. But I'm trying to decide if I've used the word, well, it's not even close, but the word golf or the word fuck. I'm not sure which one I use more, but
Or
and
together.
and they're often interchangeable for sure. Um, let's go back. When I first met you, going back to when I was a member, like, I mean, really met you, we would have interacted, but I'm considerably older. At least when I would have been in my teens, you were still, really a little girl. Um, but I remember we went out, and I don't think you remember. We've talked about this. After one men's night in Stony Plain, we ended up going out to local Boston pizza. And I remember you talking about how you were leaving the golf course and you were going to take broadcasting course. And that was your thing. You were going to be you wanted to be a TV person. I'm using my words, not your words. What was it about broadcasting that appealed to you so much that was the route that you were certain that you wanted to go?
I guess it was kind of interesting because you spend your whole life trying to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. And it's the biggest decision that you're ever going to make, right? So I remember when my sister started looking at colleges and different applications and going through the programs, I started looking through and I saw that Nate had a radio and television program. And I was in grade 9 and I thought that would be really cool. But I always thought it was one of those things that my parents would be like, "No, that's not a job. You can't do that." I don't know why I thought that, but that was in my head. Time goes on, I'm in grade 12. The teachers asked me to do one of the speeches at grad, so they saw it in me. I didn't even know this myself yet. Then we're still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, and they have us do all these different questionnaires. Questionnaire, news anchor comes up. So I was going over it that night with my dad and my brother, and they were both like, you should go in radio. And I kind of went, really? Like I'm allowed to? Which is a ridiculous thing to think, but that's I had it in my head. Like I was the kid that was making my own radio show and taping on a cassette tape, taping songs in between and doing intros to songs. Like that was me growing up. That was a lot of kids growing up, but I did it a lot.
That's awesome.
So from there, as soon as I had it was like as soon as I had my dad's blessing, I was like, okay, I could do this. So I actually took the radio side at Nate. I went into radio and television and I wanted to specialize in radio because I always knew that the best TV people were the ones that did radio first because you learn to paint the pictures without having the use of visuals. And I liked the idea of, I don't have to do my hair or makeup to go into work. This is great. So it wasn't until, probably 7 years into my career that I actually made the swap over to TV.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, and I'm going to kind of cross topics here because one of the things that I've always been fascinated with, and the older I get, like when I was young, I had one view. The older I get, I have a different view. But now I'm a father of a daughter. I have lots of women in my life, and the idea when I got divorced that I would have to change my name just never even registered. And how, when we start assigning our name to the women we marry, it almost becomes a possession thing. And I get the idea that we all want to have the same name within our families and all the rest. But when you're in broadcasting, your name is how you market yourself. That's your whole identity. And you've been known by a couple of names since you got into the market. How difficult has that been, to kind of work through that? Not just because obviously there's, whatever you want to call it, there's always going to be some kind of public embarrassment, shame, explanation, like whatever it is when, a marriage ends or when, your name changes for whatever reason. But how tough is that as a broadcaster?
It is extremely difficult and something that I never entered into lightly. Um, it is an old-fashioned tradition. That being said, I do want the same last name as my husband. I do want the same last name as my kids. So it's hard when you're a public figure and that's your brand. So all of a sudden, my maiden name is Morrison. So I'm Meg Morrison for the first however many years of my career. And that's what I'm known by. So if somebody wants to hire me to MC an event or to come out to a golf tournament, whatever the case is, how do they find me? Right. So they go to megmorrison.ca, I think it was at the time. Well, it wasn't so when I married my now ex-husband, I didn't even take his name right away, even though he had a cool last name. It was Storms. I didn't take it right away because it was, Meg Morrison was my brand. And it wasn't until I had my daughter Ella that I came back from mat leave when I was working on the Jason Greger show on 1260. And I decided that I am now going to be Meg Storms because I wanted the same last name as her as
Yeah.
well. Fast forward, that one doesn't work out. And, at that point, then it's like, okay, well, I still want the same last name as Ella, but I kind of want my own identity at this point. So let's go back to Morrison. And then fast forward a little bit more, and I find this wonderful man that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and he's got a different last name. And he's a traditionalist as well, and he wants me to have the same last name as him. And and then we end up having a child together as well. So
Who also has
there
one
you
of the
have it.
coolest
There's
names in the world.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
ace. And then fitting that I end up purchasing a par 3 golf course, correct?
Not
But
quite. Well, is it Ace from like Hole in One, or is it Ace like Freely from Kiss? Because that really sways things.
The joke that we had with all of our kids, because we didn't have any kids together prior to him. So, and all of our kids were like the youngest. Ella was the youngest at 8 at that point. So they were all old enough that we could joke with them. So we always said, like, this baby we're calling Super Baby because it's going to be our favorite. So that's why we named him Ace. And the kids all took it great. They knew that we were joking around with them and stuff like that. But that summer when I was pregnant, we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. We thought if it's a boy, we'll name it Ace. And I said to my husband Courtney that if one of us gets a hole, or like one of us will get a hole in one this year, and it will tell us that it's going to be a boy, thinking it's going to be me. I've got this. Yeah, no, he jars one. He gets it, which is probably the rudest thing that you could do to a pregnant lady. But he gets a hole in one when we're out playing at Cougar Creek, and then we're like, okay, well, we know it's a boy. It's going to be
Well,
Ace.
that's perfect because I can't stand Kiss, so that
No,
Ace will
no,
stand.
definitely the sports term.
Yeah.
Yeah, tennis, whatever. Yeah.
So, I've been really fortunate to get to know Courtney over the last bunch of years. We've, golfed together. This was actually the my eyes are really bad. I want to make sure I get the right picture here because all I can see is little blurs. But a couple of years ago on one of your golf trips, we ended up at Pasatiempo, just outside of Santa Cruz, California. That was on the trip that you put together, where we did the Pebble rotation just before the U.S. Open. I can't remember. I'm going to say that was about 5 years ago, but I have no conception of time. But it was really cool. As a side note, aside from figuring out that Court, is just a super, super nice guy, he's got some golf, like he's got some game to him.
He totally does. So that was 2019, and I was about 4 months pregnant there with said Ace. So that was a little bit more difficult on that trip, made for longer days for sure.
Was
But
that
no,
why I had to drink so much because you weren't drinking?
yeah, somebody had to
Oh,
make up
that
for it.
makes a lot more. I had no idea why I woke up on the floor the first night in the bathroom,
Yeah.
but that makes it.
When you texted me the next day and said, "Where's my golf club?" So
Yeah,
I don't know.
was yesterday at the Carius tournament. I had 3 people come up to me, and I honestly don't know who they are. Who like, hey, yeah, we were on that Pebble trip together. Like, yeah, you're the guy that bought the beer on the on the plane. Like, yeah. Yeah, we had a good time, eh? Like, yeah. They're like, you don't
Yeah.
remember who I am. I'm like, nope, I have no clue.
Oh, no, everybody had a great time on that plane, and that was the beauty about a chartered flight, and the flight attendants were amazing. It was open bar for everybody except for the pregnant lady.
Oh, it was
So,
open.
yeah, no, you guys had a great time, but I remember having to walk my way back through the plane when it was time to land and physically tell everybody and push them down and say, "Time to sit down and buckle up," because you couldn't hear anything over the speakers. That's how loud it
Now,
was.
I have to be honest. I don't believe I was one of those people. I'm usually very well behaved and probably have my seatbelt on the whole time. But if that was me, I apologize.
There was speakers going. There was, like, loud music. I've never seen anything like that in my life. It was
It was
amazing.
good times.
Yeah, it was great. But anyway, back to your first question. No, Court is a natural athlete, and he never really golfed a ton growing up, but he's always he's one of those guys that's good at everything. It's super annoying. And ever since we got together, and then it's like you have an excuse to golf when your wife golfs or when your girlfriend golfs. It's like, oh, I've got this now. I'm allowed to go, right? And it's more me pushing him. And no, he's great. He's dialed in now. It's
How
awesome.
often are you guys playing now that you have a golf course at your disposal? Are you actually playing?
We played once this year, and it's July. So that's got to be a new record. Someday,
I I just got
someday
4,
we'll have,
so I'm not a lot ahead of you.
yeah. I've played a little bit on my own at different golf tournaments and stuff like that, but yeah, actually together once.
That is that's disappointing.
It is disappointing, but that's the
Some
life of anybody in the golf industry, right? So it's right now we're in the first couple years, right? We're 13 months into ownership of it. So I know that in this time, this is the time that we just work our butts off and the golf will come later, right? And we'll reap the rewards later on. But right now, we're just doing as much work as we can on our own without relying on staff. Like, yeah, I would love to hire a manager of Glacier Greens one day so that I don't have to be in there managing the golf course and I could be doing other things. But we're not there yet. We'll get there.
But you guys aren't sitting on your laurels. Like you guys are busting ass. And well, no, I mean, I have an idea. I haven't been out there for a few weeks, but I know what's going like you guys have I shouldn't answer the question or give away, but outline some of what you guys have worked on just this year alone.
So before, when you pulled into what was Duffy's Challenge, there was a big traffic circle there, and it was the biggest waste of space. It was just a big pit filled with trees. So we took that out, brought in a bunch of fill, and we made a parking lot that now accommodates 85 vehicles. Before, you would have to park down below, walk up these stairs, which is a big deterrent for anybody with a knee problem or a hip problem. Eliminate that. Like, let's park close to the clubhouse. It just makes sense. So that's been project number 1. Project number 2, I am still sore from yesterday. Like, my knees are throbbing right now because we're out there, like, myself and my husband and the kids that we have working for us, we're out there. We sodded 7 new tee boxes yesterday because when we took it over, it was dirt, and we tried everything that we could in the fall. We aerated them, we seeded them, we did everything that we could, but the ground was so rock hard that you couldn't even get a tee in still, even after punching it.
Right.
So we figured, you know what? Let's take the rototiller out and start from scratch, because that's what's going to get us to where we want to be. Obviously, when we took over the course, there was a lot of things that it's not up to our standards, but we know that, and we know it just takes time, right? It's hard because that instant gratification of even laying down sod was amazing because it's like instant grass, right? But with everything else, we're waiting on Mother Nature. So when we took it over, the greens were filled with fungus. Okay, let's get rid of the fungus. Well, we go through the winter, and then in the spring, there's a lot of brown in the greens. They're finally starting to come around now, but it took a long time. And a lot of golfers don't realize what goes into maintaining a golf course and being a greenskeeper, which is fine. I get that. But just a little patience, because our standards are higher than any of our customers. I can guarantee you that. What we will do with the course is going to be phenomenal, but it takes time.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so are the 7 tee boxes that are being resodded the only ones, or is that's it
Nope.
for they're the only ones that needed to be done, or you're just doing it in phases?
So we did 7 yesterday. There's more to come. I think we're doing, ooh, I wanna say another 7 more beginning of the week. There's some tee boxes where we are able to just add some dirt and some seed, block them off, and do a temporary tee box. But, we're very much under construction, but in a good way. I want people to see that we're doing something about how we took it over. I want them to I'm okay with them seeing a ground under repair sign. I'm fine with that because we're doing something about it. We're not just going, "Okay, well, this is good enough." No, I want it to be great.
Well, and different golf courses offer different challenges and offer a different experience. And I'm fortunate to be a member at a really really nice, one of the top courses in Canada. I've played some of the greatest golf courses in the entire world. I don't care if you talk about Pasatiempo, Pebble Beach, Carnoustie, um, all, I mean, I've played everything. The one word that I can use to describe Glacier Greens is that it's fun. It's not, it's not an easy golf course. The greens are,
No.
they're traditional push-up greens. They're about the size, they're probably three quarters to half to three quarters of the size of a Pebble Beach green, and those are the smallest damn greens on the planet. You're hitting to postage stamps that they're domed and they fall off everywhere, but the routing is actually really good once you get past the gap from hole 1 to hole 2. But
Yes.
the layout of the course is like surprisingly fun.
So that's what made us fall in love with this property. So the reason why we renamed it Glacier Greens is there used to be a glacier there. So when it receded, it made all those hills and valleys. It's also one of the highest elevations of Parkland County. So you'll be on like the 14 and look, oh, I could see Stony, Spruce, and Edmonton from here. It's absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking. Oh, I love that shot too. It's rolling hills, and then you've got the dark sky in the background. It's perfect. So
Like
that's why
it's actually gorgeous.
It absolutely is, and it's got so much potential. That being said, still a lot of work that needs to go into it, but I know why they called it Duffy's Challenge before. It is a challenge, except for Duffy was named after a dog, so I was like, "Well, it's not my dog, so that name has to go." But it is a challenge out there, and they are postage stamps. That's how I describe the greens too, and there are things that we wanna do with the greens as well to make them more playable for beginners. That's a large focus of our marketing right now, is just getting people out on the golf course. There's too many golf courses that are, just saying no to juniors, saying no to beginners. You know, a little bit of selfishness with they can make more money off of a full adult round than a junior round. I want to grow the game. I've obviously always been in golf. This is a huge part of my life, and I want to see the kids play. So we've started up junior leagues that there's 90 kids in the league that I
Holy
teach
moly.
lessons to every Monday and Wednesday.
No, but like if you bring an adult out, yeah, you can charge full price for a round of golf at whatever it is, 40, 50, 60, 80, $100 a round, and you make more in that moment. But eventually the sport dies because you don't bring in young blood, you don't bring in new people. You bring in a bunch of juniors and get them into the game of golf. Now you've got a customer that not necessarily is going to spend $100 at a time, but they could spend $50,000 over the course of their lifetime, or whatever the number is for what lunatics like us spend on golf in our life. And you've got the next generation. Plus, once you've got a junior, then the junior wants to bring their friend out, and then once you get that group, then you've got buddies, and then once you've got that, then you start fighting. And once wait, no, not the fighting part, but everything before that.
It's honestly been so rewarding to watch it. So I've even brought in kids golf free every day of the week. Every weekday before 2 and every weekend after 2, bring a kid with a paying adult and that kid golfs free.
What
Because
if
we
I'm
need
really
to
immature?
no, that doesn't count. I need to see a birth certificate.
Yeah.
There have been parents that have tried to manipulate it and try to get free golf even though there weren't any adults. I flat out said, I'm already doing a really good thing here. Like, don't
Yeah.
take advantage of me.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best to do what's best for the game. Don't mess with me on this one.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to push me? But no, I want to see more kids come out, and that's what's happening with junior league. Is that I bet by the end of the summer we'll be over 100 kids because more and more kids keep joining every week because their friends are coming, and it's just a nice and relaxed atmosphere. And come on out, learn how to play here. Don't get intimidated. Don't have a starter pushing you off the first tee, telling you, oh, you better play off the reds up there. Have a nice and relaxing time and learn the game. I want you to graduate and go play a championship course, but I want you to bring your kids to Glacier Greens.
So while you have 90 or 100 kids in the junior program, how many actually come out on junior night or your Monday, Wednesday?
It's usually about 40 to 50 kids a night.
Really?
So, yeah, it gets a little exhausting, but it's
How do you
it's
have any
so
hair
fun
left
to
in your
watch. This is a wig.
head? Clever.
No, I'm just used to lots of kids, I guess, but they book tea time, so they come out between 4 and 6, and so
Okay.
every time with every group as they're going off the tee, I teach them that lesson that day. So I'm saying the same lessons about 20 times in a row, but I'm going over something for them to focus on each lesson. Uh, I went over obviously they're juniors, so they are using drivers on a par 3. I went over the driver lesson with them. Move everything forward, wait for it a little bit. This is how you swing a driver, all of that. An 8-year-old gets a hole in one that night.
Does that make you proud or piss you off?
A little bit of both. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm taking half the credit for that because I gave you that lesson. And then he comes off the course and says, that was my first real time golfing. This is pretty fun. I'm like, I bet it is.
Uh,
Like,
what's the protocol when an 8-year-old gets a hole in one? Like they have to buy apple juice for everyone in the pro shop, or
that's what I was wondering too. I didn't know what was appropriate for it. It freezies all around.
you've got to establish. But that reminds me now, like you're obvious. I shouldn't say this but I'm going to throw it out there. Like it feels like you're emulating what we kind of grew up with when we had, guys like Grant Camage and Tracy Hayden were they were the two that I really remember that really pumped the junior program. And Stoney had, I don't think they do anymore. I'm not sure. I don't really have any connection with Stony, but at least the golf course. But that was the kind of program that we grew up with. And I mean, I remember taking the junior, we were able to they had a couple of things. So Monday night was like junior night. So you could go out there for like $10, get a lesson on the range with the pro and play 9 holes. It was something crazy. I mean, but I'm also like a million years old. But they also had a deal where you could play 9 holes before 8 o'clock for $10. And I did that about 50 times one summer.
That's awesome. No, the Stony program is what I grew up in. That's what got me golfing. Stony had a phenomenal junior league. They don't do it anymore. And from what I understand, it's a town mandate. And it's a lot along the same lines of they don't even let kids on their course for the most part anymore.
Is the
And
junior
and I
course
don't
still
want
there?
to the small fry course or whatever they called it. Yes,
Yeah.
they had that 4-hole loop is still there where kids can go out for free. And I love Stony. I don't want to bash Stony. But I do believe this came from the town of Stony Plain where, they just want adults out there and they always kept saying that it was a liability to have kids out there. Which is frustrating. I remember even, when I first had my daughter Ella thinking let's take her out there and it was no kids allowed. That really discouraged me when it came to, I wanted my own kids to go through that. They still had their junior league, which was just camps that they would do, but you never actually went out onto the course. You would just end up doing that 4-hole loop and the rest of it was just lessons on the range. They did have some other junior camps going last year. I don't believe they have anything going on this year. But it was devastating. So, and I know that Spruce Grove Links doesn't do anything either, and that's why we're just come here then. Come to Glacier
That's
Greens
that's
and
great to create that
this is where we'll do
environment.
it.
Yeah, where juniors can actually go have fun, thrive, and again start bringing their people. Now, if you're catering to the kids, are you also catering to the ladies?
Absolutely. So I thought all winter last year was a bit of a gong show because we took over mid-June. We had a bit of a ladies league. I didn't put a lot of effort into it because I just couldn't. But we did, we still even got 75 kids in junior league last year just because I was like, let's get this going. But with ladies league, I spent all winter thinking about who I wanted there, what kind of ladies I want to be a part of this league, and how to market towards that. So I basically made junior league for ladies. So I have it set so that it's a 4 o'clock start and a 6 o'clock start. It's a shotgun start every Tuesday. And you get a lesson with that as well. So I'm teaching lessons Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with groups between ladies leagues and junior leagues. But at 4 o'clock, I take all the ladies out. We do a group lesson. 6 o'clock, I do the same thing, do a group lesson, send them off. So I ended up having all these ladies that are around my age that, are moms or, their husbands or boyfriends golf, but they've never really been comfortable going and they don't want to go to a championship course. And, there's so much females get a lot of discomfort around golf because of, the added pressure, right? So my emphasis is on just let's get rid of that pressure. Let's come out to a fun, relaxed setting and let's learn the game together. So I even had one of my girlfriends, Heather, come out. She did yoga stretches for us for one of the lessons one day. It was phenomenal. It's such a great group of ladies. We have 85 ladies in that league. So it's just completely blown up as well.
Wow.
And just a really it's not a competitive league. And even when I put out the hole proxies every week, I didn't lose a ball on this whole draw. I don't want it to
Doesn't
be
look
the
like they
same.
qualify for that.
Yeah, I don't want it to be the same people winning every week. I want it to be a fun experience
Just
for
fun.
everybody and not just always closest to the pin, long putt, closest to the pin, long putt. There's a ball in the pond draw, there's a ball in the bush draw, and then or closest to the pin from any shot off the green. I'm just making it more accommodating for everybody so that, it isn't intimidating. I want them, like I say, I want them to graduate to a championship course, but let's learn here where you're not staring down a 500-yard hole and getting intimidated.
Yeah, and have like two foursomes of angry guys making comments and pushing you and all the rest.
Yeah.
so then for ladies' night, I can't remember what the hell it was called, but I had way too many. Was it called Birdie Chip? The shot that you got.
Birdie juice.
Dirty Juice. Sorry. So you include one of those with every ladies' night
The
um, tea time,
well,
or what?
they get their food and beverage voucher included with their tea time, so they could choose they get to decide where that goes to, but, no, that it's a great little distillery out of Bonnyville. They have a shot called Birdie Juice, Bogey Shots, and then there's an apple pie moonshine that we just brought in as well, but I love supporting local. I love that it's called Birdie Juice. I was like, "Yeah, bring it in."
They were really well. I had some time to kill, so I played 27 holes out there. The one time I went out, and I had to wait for my ride to come pick me up. So what do? You sit in the pro shop, and I actually went out on the deck, and it was great because Court came by and we had a couple of drinks, and then my ride came and picked me up, and my ride just sent this here, so you might
Well,
get a new entry on ladies' night.
yeah. I know it's kind of the other side of the world for her to come to, but absolutely you should come to ladies' night
Well,
anytime.
I'll just tow my camper out there. She can just sleep it off at the golf course and figure out how to get home after that.
That's perfect.
Yeah. That's great. So, I mean, obviously that Pebble trip was awesome. You've also done a trip to Bandon. Now that your plate is full of running Glacier Greens, are the golf trips, is that in the past, or are we going to see something?
So Bandon Dunes, we just did this past fall in September. So it was a little hectic because I had the golf course and then we had this trip and there's a lot of work that goes into organizing a chartered group of 50 people to go to some high-end resort, right? And the tea times that go along with it, the rooms, all of their wishes accommodated. Um, Before Bandon Dunes, I said I'm never doing this trip again. Before
Don't
Pebble
you say that
Beach, I
after
said
every trip?
no, before Pebble Beach, I also said I'm never doing another one of these trips again.
Yeah.
Pebble Beach finishes, and I'm like, that was amazing. This is the best time ever. Let's do another one. Let's go to Bandon next. Bandon was canceled a few times because of COVID. So obviously wasn't the best timing that we had the golf course ownership and we're doing the Bandon trip. And leading up to it, I was a stress case. Go to Bandon, and then I'm like, okay, where are we going next? Because it was it's phenomenal. Like just the whole experience with the chartered flight and the way that they treat you at these resorts and that everything is all in one location. So I guess my question to you would be, since you did come to Pebble, where do you want to go next?
I want to go back to Bandon because I missed that trip. I've been there
I
once,
know.
and that is like, I was well, our good friend Terrio from Prism Flow.
Well, he was one of the ones at the tournament yesterday, and I've already texted him because Corey Bablitz, who also comes on these trips, was like, "Hey, Terry says where are we going next?" So I said, "Where do you want to go? Just tell me."
Well, that's a good. Well, I talked to Terry yesterday, and I talked to him about Bandon, and I can't believe that he hasn't been there because it is, without question, you can name any golf course in the world. I don't care. That is the greatest golf destination in the world. Nothing can compare to what Bandon offers, especially now that there's like, I don't know, 80 golf courses there. All you do is golf, eat, drink. There's no like no nightclubs, there's no nonsense other than you just get up. You usually play 36 holes if you're really gung ho. You've got great accommodations, and then that's it. Personally, I want to go back there. I don't have like I'm it's going to sound arrogant, and I don't mean it that way. I've pretty much been everywhere that I wanted to go. Like, if I'm going to do a golf trip now, my kind of golf trip would be to get down to like Puerto Vallarta, play one of the golf courses, maybe golf one day, go scuba dive the next day, golf the next day, go to a tequila tour the next day, something like that. I don't need to do the golf the way I used to, where it's like, oh, we've got to play like 54 holes a day, get up at 6 o'clock. All we do is golf. And by the time you're done, it's just like, how'd you play? Like, I don't remember. It
Yeah.
just, yeah. So what are the contenders?
Bandon is definitely up there. And the thing that I loved so much about Bandon, and because obviously Pebble is amazing too. Um, I'm not as keen to go back to Pebble. because I think it is a bucket list thing. And it's like once you've done it, it's like, okay, that was cool. Do I really want to spend another 800 Canadian for one round of golf at Pebble? Is it really worth it? And I remember when we went to Pasatiempo too, a hot dog there was $17 American.
But it was
With
the best
Bandon,
damned hot dog.
no, we've got them way better at Glacier Greens with our gourmet hot dogs now.
Well, they didn't exist 4 years ago.
They didn't, but I know sure our hot dogs will kick any butt of any
Okay.
Pasatiempo. But it like $17 American for a hot dog. And it was like, yeah, okay, there's 5 toppings that you could choose from, but $17 American. What I liked about Bandon is that they're world-class golf. And then on top of that, everything was reasonable. Even though you're on this island essentially, there's nothing else around. You're not going into town for a burger. You're staying on the resort, but everything
Yep.
was reasonably priced. And I really respected that they don't gouge you once you're there because, as it is, we're already spending a ridiculous amount of money on everything else, right? Between the rooms, the golf, and then, I think I bought a $300 golf jacket, American, just because I was like, well, it has Banded Dunes on it, and this is the one thing I'm going to buy because I'm
Yep.
here and I'm going to do it. But that's where they get you. But I would way rather go somewhere like that where you don't feel like you're just getting gouged everywhere.
I would say, now that the one place I haven't been that I probably should at one point is Pinehurst.
Pinehurst, I've looked into. Pinehurst is a little bit more difficult with a chartered flight because of the time change. So if we want to golf the same day that we arrive, it means that we have to add an extra night of accommodation. So it just brings up the price of the trip. There's a few different things that I've looked at between Pinehurst, Whistling Straits. For some reason, Cabot won't do a group above 24 people. I was like, you are missing the boat here because why would I charter a flight for anything less than, it's got to be at least 50 to make it worth it for everybody so that it's not just a really ridiculously expensive flight. Turns out flights are very expensive. So it's got to be spread out amongst the masses.
The charter flight from here to Cabot, if you actually take a look at the distance and the time, you can be in Scotland in about 2 hours more than what the flight to PEI would be. So
Yeah.
if you're going there, you might as well go a little bit further and get that original experience.
Yes. There's a bunch of different options that I'm looking for. The problem, so I even talked to Pebble again about what, could we do this or, what if we had a group of 100? They said to have a group of 100, you have to have single room accommodations for at least 70% of the group. So there's no double occupancy. There's no,
And those are $500 or $600 a night.
American. It was
Yeah.
$6.99 American a night when we went in 2019. So who knows what it is now. So that makes me not want to work with them as much. I would rather go somewhere where, it feels a little bit more appreciated. But yeah, still looking into it and yeah, I can't remember who it was now that I'd have to look it up. Somebody else, another resort that I was talking to. What's the one in Missouri? Is it Missouri? Oh, I'm just totally drawing a blank right now.
That's okay. It happens when you're live.
Anyway, with them, they're, here's what the cost is. Everything is non-refundable. It's like, okay, even like 3 months out, 6 months out, then that makes me not want to play ball with you so much because you know what? Yeah. COVID happens. Things happen that you don't think like, yeah, I'll book this flight. And then what if, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to play ball with somebody that won't play ball with me.
I've played, again, I don't want to make this about me, but like I've golfed in, a place like Maui. I've played, Kapalua multiple times. I've played, the Emerald Course at Wailea. I've played all over that island and it's really, really fun golf. But I got no desire to go back to Maui because it's just turned too expensive. Like everything I'm looking at now, when we, book, like we were talking the other day about where are we going to go, in the winter, if we're going to go somewhere in the winter, it always comes back to Mexico. Like go to Cancun, go to PV. At Cancun, I don't like as a city, but their scuba diving and their golf is really good. PV, their golf is really good, but their scuba's not so great. So, I mean, if it's the Colin trip, I'm gonna be a little confused. But there's so many great golf courses. In it's like if you're in the Cabo area, the golfing in Cabo is like in indescribably awesome. Like,
Mhm.
the problem is one of my favorite courses is Cabo del Sol. The ocean course is now private, so you can't just book and get out there. You used to have to just stay at the Sheraton Hotel, which was great. It's on the water, but now it's really really tough to get out there.
Oh,
But
yeah,
that's
it's
just my
I
2 cents.
know. There's a lot of research that goes into one of these trips because it's obviously, what's the plane gonna cost to get there? What kind of crowd are we marketing towards? Are we wanting to find something that's more, Pebble Beach was 5 grand a person. It's not cheap to play 3 rounds of golf, but that's what it costs to go there and spend the night there, right? So, obviously, it was kinda twofold. There's business owners that had a little bit more disposable income, but then there was guys that were literally tearing up saying goodbye at, the baggage claim, saying, "Thank you so much for putting this together. This was just bucket list for me," so guys that save up to go on
You
these trips. So, I kinda
you
want
told
to
me that you weren't gonna tell people that I cried.
I said a couple guys. So, it could have been you, but it could have been somebody else.
It was not me. Yeah.
No, but I did have
Every
guys like
time I
that,
cry
which
is when I laugh too hard.
well, and, for me, I'm putting this on because I wanna go.
Yeah.
And I want it's part of the experience for me as well, right? So, to realize how much it meant to them, that comes into play as well. So, I do
Well,
wanna put on these trips, and I wanna make sure that they're as cost effective as they can be because I'm not out there to gouge you. I'm out there to get to go to Bandon Dunes with you or Pebble Beach.
and the thing that, we haven't pointed out is, really, well, I think I said something, but the trip that we did to Pebble was 3 weeks before the US Open. So Pebble was in US Open condition. You weren't able to play the championship tees because they were actually netted off, but the rough was US Open rough. The greens were not quite US Open speed, but they were really, really close.
They were
And
getting there, yeah.
yeah, you got to see that thing and you got to experience it in a condition that very, 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 very few people ever get to do. And then adding on, Spyglass, thanks to you, I totally changed my opinion of Spanish Bay because the first time I was there, I really, really didn't like it. And then we went out and played and I looked at it. I don't know what it was about the first time. I just despised it. And now I'm actually, if I'm in the area, I won't hesitate to go back there. And then sneaking that extra round in at Pasatiempo it was just awesome.
It's so cool and definitely, absolutely bucket list. And especially the way to do it like we did it with, being able to fly right into Monterey. You don't touch your bags. You don't even know where your golf clubs are the next morning. That's how little you have to do with your baggage after that point. But it's just such a cool experience. So I do want everybody to be able to experience that. I don't want it to be, a $10,000 per person trip. I want it to be as cost effective as possible. And I'm a penny pincher. I always have been, I always will be. I will find the best deal and I will do my research to get everybody the best deal because I want it to be for everybody, even though it is a high-end trip.
So if people are interested, how do they find you now, or how are they going to find the information when and if the next trip comes available?
Well, always social media, Meg Polson Golf. I've got, everything on there between Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. Really call the golf course. I'm pretty much there all the time.
Drive
Or
out
Meg
to the
Pol
golf course and ask to
come
see
out.
the manager.
Ask to speak to the manager, yeah, and I'll come popping my head out and be like, "Hello, thank you for
Yeah.
coming." And then megpolson.com. I've still got as well because I still do, even though, I've kind of taken a back seat to a lot of the media work that I did before. I still do a lot of emceeing events. I was, in Lethbridge last week and Banff and Calgary the week before to MC events. I do a lot of golf tournaments still where people will have me come out and do a par three challenge, which I should be really, really good at now that I own a par three golf course.
That
But,
you never play.
Yeah, but I never play. But, all the lessons that I teach have actually made me pretty dialed in because I'm talking about the basics all the time, and it's bringing me back to the basics, so it's kind of great.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very accessible, so reach out to me any way that you can, and I'll be posting information about the next trip as soon as I have something that's worth posting.
That's awesome. Now, before I let you go, and you're free to jump off anytime you want, we touched on really quick your wedding venue, and I think I've got the right picture here. Again, the pictures are
Yeah.
so Weatherwood Ranch. This is one of the reclaimed barns that you guys have taken down.
No, so this is our inspiration. This is actually a
Okay.
barn in Nebraska. And we saw this picture when we were first looking at, what we would wanna build, and we saw this barn and we were like, "That's the barn. That's what we wanna build." It's just beautiful. So when we, we're finishing up the blueprint stage right now, and the first thing we did was send them this and say, "It's gotta look like this. Aspect ratio, colors, everything. It's gotta look like this," because when first walk down the hill towards the pond and you're going to see this barn, it will have that wow factor. So that's the inspiration. That's what it's going to look like when it's complete. We're almost done the blueprint stage, which turns out is a very long stage because it's
Yeah.
commercial. Then it's the building permit stage, but we're doing everything we can. We were really hoping to have a building up by the time the snow flew so that we could, at least work on it in the winter time. But, who knows? It's construction. It's
You
fun.
just don't know which winter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm
Now,
trying to execute whatever patience I have, which is not easy 'cause, my husband and I talk about it all day, every day. We're so focused on getting that thing up and running because it's such a beautiful place to get married. And, when you do get married at Weatherwood Ranch or at Glacier Greens, so it will be Glacier Greens at Weatherwood Ranch once the barn is complete. When you get married there, 9 holes are yours. So your guests wanna go and play around a golf while you take pictures? Great. Those
yeah.
9 holes are yours, and it's much better than golfers driving through your wedding ceremony at
Yeah,
any other golf
100%.
course.
Are you gonna make that venue available outside of weddings? So if somebody wants to do a corporate event, somebody
Absolutely.
wants to it's not just dedicated, wedding.
No, it's got weddings are in the back of my mind because I'm making it as elegant and rustic as I can, but I just want it to be gorgeous. So I always think weddings, but it's for anything. So I want to do yoga retreats out there. I want to do company Christmas parties, corporate events, trade shows, like anything, right? We're going to have this really big area that can seat 250 people. So we're going to have the capability of hosting larger events and being able to bring people through the door and making ourselves not just a seasonal company anymore. Now we're going to be year round. And then, oh man, Colin, I could go on this forever, but like I want to do sleigh rides in the winter. I want to do bonfires. I want to, like, you name it. I want to do it.
How do you charge somebody for a sleigh ride?
Uh, f- you just add it in because you know what? I'm a yes person.
Okay.
That's the best part about owning a golf course. Do you know that?
I don't know
That
anything.
all the times that golf courses tell somebody no, I love just saying yes to that. I had a mom yesterday at junior league ask me, "Can we do a kid's birthday party out here?" I was like, "Absolutely, you can." "Really?" She was shocked because she's like, "I knew that Stoney would say no." And I love saying yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's the times that you should do it so that it's not as busy. Absolutely, you should come out and do that.
And
It's
where would
fun
you do
saying
that?
yes.
Like in the pro shop or like
Well, they
on the
wanna go
course?
golfing. They wanna go golfing and then have some pizza after on the back deck. Go for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, looking forward to getting back out there. I think I've probably kept you long enough. I'm looking forward to getting, we'll have to do this again because I want to do an update show. And, hopefully between now and then I can get out there, shoot a little bit of video, kind of highlight, some real experience out there. I can't remember what it is. There's a hole out there. I think it's about, if I do this in my head, about hole 4 that's over the water with a slightly elevated green.
all 3.
Hole 3, there you go.
It's a
That
hard
hole,
one.
I wanna punch that hole in the face.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I think I pumped 3 balls into the water there, and I still don't know why, because I went off of the yardage and I went off of the wind and I tried to calculate and adjust after the first 2, and I didn't get a ball in play there. So I
Yeah.
want to get back out there and kind of showcase that. But yeah, hopefully we can get you back later on this year and kind of give updates. Just a really, really awesome property. I know you guys are, doing a great job. I think you neglected to mention that you've also rebuilt some of your cart paths out there.
Yes, we're getting there even more so. We're starting with the cart paths. Not a ton of them have been done yet just because of all the other projects that we're taking priority. Now that we have some of the sod down though, the clock starts on 4 weeks until we could play on that. So that was big priority to get that done. And then we could start working on some of the other projects. But yeah, it's pretty cool, and I quite enjoy the days that I get out to go out there and do sod and not just sit in front of a spreadsheet or sit in the clubhouse. It's fun for me that I get to go do the maintenance side as well, as weird as that sounds.
No, I mean, you got to love what you do. Really looking forward to seeing how the course transforms and matures and develops. I know once you guys, there won't be an end point, but I know after a very short amount of time, the course is going to be one of, at least one of Edmonton's most sought after destinations, because again, the thing that pops out about Glacier Greens is that it's just plain fun. And
Yeah.
that's, golf needs more of that. It doesn't need to be, so expensive, so high end, so hoity toity, bunch of rules, bunch of nonsense. Like, just come out, have fun, have a bite to eat, and go home. It doesn't have to be a 4 hour day. I think I played my 27 holes in about an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, you can whip through there. As a single, you can go through as fast as you want. It's pretty great for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you'll have to let me know the next time you're coming out to claim some of your lifetime membership. And we'll go golfing together. And then hopefully on the update, I won't have it like more gray hairs next time that we talk about the course. But I, I
I
think I
plan,
think we're surviving. We might not be thriving. We're surviving though. And we're doing a
yeah.
really good job at it right now.
If you can survive, you're winning, and I will promise unquestionably that I will have far more gray hairs than you and Court combined. So that's a contest you won't have to worry about winning or
Yeah, but
losing.
it works for you.
I'm not going to change it.
No, it
It is
works.
what it is. The only thing I hate is that everything that's growing, I've got this balance between hating shaving and hating having a beard. I hate both of them. So I'll go through a period where it grows, and now everything is just white. There's no color left, and it's like, damn, you are an old mother.
No,
So
you don't have the eye wrinkles and the saggy like jaw and stuff, so you're good.
it's there. Fortunately, my camera's not high enough resolution to
Just keep
transmit
backing
it,
up.
but we actually have plans. We're tentatively talking about coming out on Saturday. So
Oh,
surprise.
perfect.
I've got to go out to
Okay,
the
well, let
go-kart
me
track
know.
and do some stuff out there, and then we were talking about on the way back popping in. So if there's a time, I'll send you a note after we're done, and we can try and line it up a little bit more formally if you are available.
Absolutely.
Meg,
Well, thanks for
really
having me
appreciate.
on.
Oh,
No,
any
this was great. Yeah, this is we'll always do more call-in time. So this is great. Thanks so much for making me a part of it.
I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that we would be on the opposite sides of the microphone, but
I
I really
know.
appreciate you humoring an avid amateur.
No, you're just rocking this. You've been in media for long enough now. You've got this.
Uh, yeah, well, the nice thing about the way I do media is I never have to worry about getting laid off or having my radio station shut down. Although, there's no more Cantor Grace report because the radio station shut down. But things are looking good. Talked to Gregor yesterday. He wouldn't. I've had a number of good conversations with him about what his options are and kind of where he's going, and he won't tell me anything yet. But it sounds like he's getting close to making a decision as to where he's going to go, and hopefully we get that back up and running. And hopefully. We'll be there. Hopefully, the 51st birthday, we get to see Jason bust out his Vanilla Ice and and do the
Oh,
Ice
fingers
Baby
crossed.
karaoke. Yeah. Well, I'm turning 50 this year, so maybe I'll have to do something like that.
There you go. Yeah, well, I'm waiting for my invite then.
Oh, you'll be invited. I probably won't do it the same way that Gregor did. We're likely going to get on an airplane and go somewhere warm and, play some golf and have some drinks and then probably wake up on the floor.
Yeah, yeah, the best way.
That's the way I do it. Meg, thank you very much. I'll shoot you a note here sooner than later, and yeah, really looking forward to getting you back on and discussing all the improvements and the maturity of Glacier Greens.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on, Colin.
Anytime. Talk soon.
You bet.
Oh, what a great chick, that Meg. Her whole family, her dad, Doug, again, known him since I was like a little ankle biter. Peg, that whole group is just awesome. As always, thanks for everyone tuning in. You can always email me, hey there at talkandtorque.ca. You can catch me at Talk and Torque on the socials. Apparently, we are now migrating over to Threads, so that'll be a new thing that's available here. And as always, we will be back next Thursday at 5 o'clock.